Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Tower. This is a special edition of the show where we will be shortly joined by Saint Tom Litchfield. But before we get to the interview, we're going to cover off a pretty epic night down in Bath and look ahead to returning to the Prem and Chiefs away this weekend. My name's Charles McGillivray. As always, I'm joined by Jess Kebbell and Simon Stacey. We're a fans podcast by fans for fans of Northampton Saints. How you both doing?
Good, thank you, mate.
Good, thank you.
Good. It does. I mean, gutted. I mean, that's the only word that you can say, isn't it? I mean, what a game! But it wasn't just in our fingers; it was in our grasp, and it got away from them. But some of the performances were, some of the displays of skill were just exceptional, weren't they?
Yes, they were, mate. It was just an insane game, and I'm just gutted they just couldn't get over the line. But my God, what display of rugby was on that pitch! Some of our tries, they've got to be some of the best we ever scored. They're handling, like, we could talk about that in a sec, but blimey. Sorry, my dog's just literally going mad because someone else at the door. Yeah, it was absolutely just breathtaking. And if we'd actually played a little bit of defence, we could have actually maybe won that. But then we do. That's the risk you play at playing that speed and that pace of rugby. And yeah, I actually thought we're not gonna start off with the ref, but I think the Pollock decision cost us in the end, didn't it? But I don't think he should have been yellow carded. But he had a really good game other than that, I would say. But also the Barbary tip. Yeah.
What the referee thought had a good game?
I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was that bad, but those two decisions were massive decisions, and in the end that cost us because obviously Pollock going off, we're losing a man, and then they scored from that penalty, didn't they? So
yeah, he was largely all right, I thought. But I mean, I would be honest and say I thought the last 25 minutes we weren't getting anything. Like it was irrelevant whether Bath, what Bath did. They weren't getting penalised, and we were. And it's not saying that the decisions against us were wrong. It's like Bath flying off their feet at almost every ruck and nothing happening. And there was another thing. I mean, there was this basic rules should just be applied, and when you have a tap penalty that isn't taken correctly, and it's a tap penalty, the referee shouldn't be looking at anything else. You think, and then it leads to a try. Like, well, hang on, why is that happening? I mean, the ball needs to clearly leave your hand when you do a tap penalty. That's written in black and white in the laws. Tom Dunn doesn't do that, scores a try, they're back in the game. The big decision there, because if that's a penalty our way, we kick it out, we defend a line, we've got a 2-try lead for a longer period of time. Carreras just went off his feet, clear and day, and it just like I said, for about 20 minutes leading up to that, a lot of players were going off the feet and it wasn't being penalised, so it's not a one-off, but the yellow card seemed harsh because of that. And if we had 15 men, we'd have possibly won, and if we'd had the opportunity to clear our lines again from a penalty, we'd have probably won. So there's like two moments where there probably should have been a penalty. We're under pressure. We should have had a penalty on our own 5-metre line, and it hasn't. It's actually gone the other way, and they've scored. That's 14-point swing that would have been the difference in the fixture. Humans make errors. Pressure. The crowd was wild, pretty aggressive. Like, there's a lot of pressure on the ref. Him sort of suddenly only noticing our errors is almost what you get at always. Home teams always get the rub of the green. That's a lot of referees act like that. That's what it is. The tap penalty one's an odd one. It's right in front of you. But yeah, we shouldn't have put ourselves in that position. We should have probably been a bit stronger at some of our defensive errors, and then we wouldn't be in that scenario. But to be fair, Bath are a great side. So you could say you can defend as well as you want, but they're still a really good side, and they're going to put you under pressure.
Yeah, I think I suppose the key takeaway for me is it felt like it felt like a sort of loss right at the end had been coming for a while. I felt like we've been riding our luck a bit, and I sort of said that in like the Cas after the Cas game and the Sarries game, of sort of this is going to cost us against a team that's better than them. And I think that's what happened really. I think discipline was bad. I don't disagree that like certain things from Bath were being missed. Like you said, off feet at the breakdowns, which is probably why he missed the one for the sealing off at the end, because at that point, if you're letting them all go, he's probably just going to let them all go. But I mean, I think like for example, what JJ offers us is really good, but him on his own gave five, I think it was five pretty obvious penalties away, like the decisions that were just correct, and like even getting a card in the end because it was like a third penalty in a row. Um, and it just the discipline of just I think it was like discipline, the sort of shoddy defense, and we still are really poor at the restarts. Like I feel like three key things that we've sort of been saying week on week, and I knew it was going to come back to bite us eventually. And I'm not surprised that it was against Bath. Like you said, they're a really, really good side. I think some of their tries were just like lucky. I mean, like the Finn Russell one was just lucky. Like, it's just one of those where he was able to kind of pick up the ball and get through and kind of score. But yeah, the defense has kind of disappeared. And I sort of worry that we're going to end up a bit like and this isn't any shade on Bristol, but like Bristol have always gone off the assumption of like, well, as long as we can score more tries than the opposition, it's all right. But like there are going to be some teams that doesn't work as well against. Like there are other teams that can score really well, and Bath are one of them. So I think, maybe we kind of, I don't know, needed it's maybe not the right term, because they probably would love to still be in, but sometimes it actually takes a loss for you to really kind of properly take the lessons on board. And I'll be honest, we've added 2 injuries to the list now with Pearson and Langdon to add on to the others that are still out. I know we've had a couple come back, but Lockett, yeah, with the head injury. So we're sort of in that cycle again, and so there's a part of me that thinks actually we're probably going to benefit from being in one tournament now, not we will have I think we've got Exeter Bath and then it's the semi-final. Like we will get a chance to kind of rest for a weekend, which might be a really big positive, considering like I said, the long list of people. Don't get me wrong, you want to be in a semi-final because that would be a third semi-final in 3 years, which is obviously an incredible achievement. But I think Dingus has said it in his interview afterwards, like we'll use it as fuel to try and go on and win the Prem. And if there's something that we've noticed about Saints in the past few seasons, they love some kind of story that they can attach to like a championship winning push. And I think we've certainly got that with like being knocked out there and Ferbs leaving and some of the other things. That we've definitely actually probably got that emotional sort of aspect of it that we seem to work really well with. So hopefully it can kind of push us on, because like you said, that lead in the Prem is tenuous. It's 1 point and the people behind us are catching up. So yeah, if it allows us to push for that, and if we're lifting that trophy at the end of the season, you're not bothered, I don't think, too much that you crashed out in the quarters, and then it gives us a much better. That push gives us a better kind of seeding, as it were, going into Europe next season. So you really do get a good chance to have another push. So yeah, like you said, it's kind of gutting, because we have beaten them there this season, but I also don't know if I really fancy playing Bordeaux in Bordeaux, to be completely honest with you, the way they look right now. So who knows? But I'm still going to be pulling for Bath. Don't get me wrong. I still want the English team, because there's only one. So I'd love them to get through, but I can't see it myself. But it's a weird.
If the further they go, it can only help us, because if they're fighting on 2 fronts for the longer point, they can only help us.
That's what I was about to say as well. Like they literally, the semis after they play us. So are they going to rest players against us? Because Bruce Craig will want the European Cup. So will they rest players against us? Whereas if we were in that situation, would we have had to have rest players against them? Because you want to go to Bordeaux full fire, don't you? With your best players possible. So I obviously don't want us to go out of a competition, but like Jess said, I think she said it last week as well, it could be a blessing if we did, for the league, that is.
Yeah, well, it works in 2 ways, doesn't it? Because it gives you the ability to manage things a bit better. You're not as stretched, etc. But then it does build more pressure on actually winning the league, because you've halved the opportunity of trophies. I mean, I sort of said before that the talented group we've got this year is exceptional. or that puts a lot of pressure to try and actually win something this year whilst we've got that whole group together. Because, yeah, they've done an amazing job at retaining talent, but I think also we're going to be slightly weaker next year, potentially, because of the players that are leaving and not necessarily being replaced. You know, there's a, I think players will come in. I mean, maybe one or two more players will come in, but you're losing Sammy Graham, you're losing Furbank. We've lost Scott Young, um,
Ram.
yeah, Ram, etc. I don't think though. I think they're going to be almost internal replacements rather than external replacements. If sort of, everyone's had a pay rise and there's not the space to go out and buy, sign, a big replacement for Furbank, for example. So I might be wrong. Maybe they've got some money down the back of their sofa and they go out and surprise us. But I'm guessing that's what's occurred. So there's a lot of pressure on winning the league this year, because next year might end up being another slightly development year. But they've got the squad this year to do it, so they've got to go and do it.
That's the issue, isn't it? Like at the minute, like if your Furbank's injured, you've got a Ram or a Hendy. Now, like literally, if you go with those three players, you've just got Hendy. Not saying he's going to be a world-class player, but if he gets injured, is there anyone to come in for him? And it's the same in a lot of positions, like you just said. So it's similar to when we were losing like Lewis and Courtney. It's a year you need to go and win it, because these boys are ready and they're quality, and it might not be that easy next year. So
it's that Goldilocks year, isn't it? Again, where you've got the Furbank and the Hendy and the Ram, and you've got the Tom James and the McParland and the Wyman, and you've got so much talent. But next year James leaves, Graham leaves, Furbank leaves. They're not going to necessarily be replaced, so this is the year, and there's a lot of pressure, I think, to win this year.
Yeah,
I mean that is what I was thinking though. Like literally in my head, I was like, well, the last time we were saying this, they won. The last time we were like, this is the last time they're going to have this squad together. Like they won. So, I think they're at the stage where even the younger ones, like they've played in, most of them have played in the three semi-finals, the Prem final, the Champions Cup final. Like, I think they do understand pressure and how to use it in like a productive way as opposed to like a detrimental way. But yeah, it is always one of those things where, like you said, you've only got there's one trophy left now, so that is your that is your chance. But yeah, we're in a situation again, aren't we, where it's just like injuries are catching up, and you can't help but feel that that's kind of what happened just really with the European final last year. It was like a game too far, considering the injuries on the day, but also the ones that existed before leading up to it. So having the sort of semi-final and the final of the Champions Cup as like rest weekends, I do think will be a benefit from that perspective. It's less games where you're missing players, for one thing, isn't it? Like at least one, potentially two, that you're missing some of those key players. You think about who's still left to come back, like Cole's being a big example of that, because I think the lineout struggled a little bit without him. Like, if he's able to come back that week after, let's say the week after the semi-final ones, where you've only got 2 games instead of 3, that you wouldn't have him. So yeah, there's benefits and drawbacks, and they'd of course I'd have loved to have made it there. But if you think about where we were before we made that semi-final, like we hadn't won a European game in however many seasons it was, like since 2020. You think about the conversion rate and where we are then, semi-final, final, quarter-final, like it's not too shabby the way that it's going. And you consider some of those top like French clubs, and then like Leinster, like who always seem to be bossing the competition, like we've mixed ourselves in really well with those teams. And we have had Leinster, it was pretty close in the final against Bordeaux. So yeah, I still think this team is going places. It's going to have the natural like ebbs and flows, and next year perhaps is maybe going to be a bit of an ebb, but hopefully that leads into the flow, as it were, the year after. We'll obviously have to wait and see. But yeah, it's a lot riding on it. But yeah, like I said before, like the last time we won the Prem, we were using this kind of fuel, and it was the same to beat Leinster in the semi, right? It was, everybody was against us. We'd lost just the year before. Like there was such a big push for it. And I kind of love, to be fair, that we've not loved that we lost to them, but love that you lose to them and then you've got them in 2 weeks' time. You've got such a quick turnaround to like right the wrong. And at the end of the day, if you beat them twice and they've beat us once, we're still ahead in those margins at the moment. So it can only be useful. But I think the team Bath will put out will be really interesting. was speaking to a friend of mine and sort of thought, if they don't rotate players and they go whole hog against us, like what are they thinking about their potential chances the weekend after? I think you've got to send your strongest squad, haven't you, to Bordeaux and see what happens at the end of the day.
Yeah,
But
and they only need to get top two. Like, that's the thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so
Yeah, they can afford one, can't they? Probably, like
and
to
to be
still get there.
honest, they rotate their squad regardless. Like the squad that we played on Friday, yeah, probably their strongest side, but
Yeah,
or potentially they're not in some places. Whereas the team that the week before, I think was it 7 odd changes from the team that played the
yeah.
quarterfinal, the last 16 to the team that they rotate regardless. They've got such a big squad. Like Guy Pepper, like he wasn't like
My
he's
God,
not there, and
what a
and
player that boy is! I know it's
and
about Saints, but he was exceptional in our game.
Yeah.
My
And
God, he was
Mhm.
Ajoa,
everywhere.
Maximo Ajoa, he wasn't playing. They've got so much
Yeah,
talent that they can just bring in. Well, but
yeah.
anyway, let's to think about like some of the positives as well. I mean, it's
Mm.
gutting to be out, but some of the rugby that was played was like sent down from the gods, wasn't it? Like
My God,
straight off of Mount Olympus, like that McParland
one
pass,
hand.
one-handed thing. I must have watched that 20
That's
times already. That was just that
It's
it's
insane.
try
insane.
was outrageously good.
Yeah.
I was watching.
That,
Is it? I'm not sure. Is it the Rugby Pod that's got Andy Good on? He said if that was to pot,
mhm.
that would have had like 4 million views. But it's like it was insane. Like I don't that whole try, like the pass in the pass in Tommy's line back into Dingers. And you think at the time that was our second try, wasn't it? I think I said to the missus it was at 19 minutes. I might be wrong here. And we were 26 points up. I was like, we're way over a point a minute here. What's going on? Like this is supposed to
yeah.
be a close game.
Yeah,
And God, but yeah, they were some of them tries have got to go down as our tries of the season. They were exceptional, like the one with Dingers as well. I can't remember who scored it, where he just did that flick behind his
Lockett
head.
scored.
Yeah,
Yeah, Lockett
wow,
Okay,
scored.
yeah.
That was audacious from Dingers, that little pop over his head.
it's
Yeah.
insane. It's like you just like we won't mention the channel, but some of that rugby should be on that channel, shouldn't it? It was just so like wow, like just explicit. Do you know what I mean? It was just
Yeah, I
like I've
mean,
used it before, but the Harlem Globetrotters again. Some of it was just insane skill. They just know where their mates are going to be.
yeah. Some of the tries are like, the Slight Omen pull-up tries were just will, desire, aggression, whereas like the Kemeny try, the Lockett try, the Dingle try, just unbridled, unbelievably good skill to create those opportunities. And yeah, I mean, go to the negative is sometimes we probably got our tails up a bit throughout the game, thinking we can find this edge, we can score these tries because we had I think 3 opportunities in the second half where we had a penalty relatively in front of the posts, and Finn was kicking well, and you turn a 12-point lead into a 15-point lead into a 18-point lead, and because sometimes there's one where it wasn't too bad a kick and a bit of distance but wasn't too bad, and we quickly tapped and go, and like I'm not blaming the decision because in hindsight is a wonderful thing, and you could argue that rather than because we had the lead, rather than extending the league, having territory and time in their half and making them defend and tire them out and just wind down the clock by having the ball, that's a perfectly legitimate approach as well to having a lead. It's just you look at it in hindsight and you think, well, if we'd have just gone right, take the points, extend the lead, and then it means every time they know that every time they give us away a penalty, we're gonna have a go at the posts. If we're not gonna have a go at posts, it sort of gives them a bit of free reign to push it a bit more. And the thing is, they were pushing it quite a lot and getting away with it because yeah, I mean, like it wasn't a bad rev or anything, but I mean, I think you said on the rugby pod, I think Andy Good said he's mates with Andrew Bracey, and he sent him a picture of a Dyson, saying when's this being delivered, like so, that there are that's purely tongue in cheek, and there's no issues, there's no corruption, nothing like that. It's pure joke, but yeah, just
The
yeah,
thing with that
some of
as
the
well, like, I know
tries.
I mentioned it at the start, like those big decisions did cost us. I know, like you say, in
Yeah,
hindsight, the Barbary one, I'm sorry, there's no way that's not at least a yellow. He picked Henry up over the horizontal and dropped him. I know he didn't land on his head, But if any of it, I think it happened in the game at the weekend. It's exactly the same thing, and they got a yellow for it. Don't see how that wasn't a yellow card. And then obviously we've covered the Carrera, so he literally sealed the ball off. So that's a penalty to Saints, not a yellow card to Pollock and a penalty to them. And I know you could say if we hadn't have done that, this and that, but they're big moments. Then when Barbie came on, he was bossing it. So him in the bin for 10 minutes would have been a big thing.
It's a big decision, that one. Sorry.
No, I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? It's just like, you don't want to have to sort of think it, but like, there's got to be a part of you, or there should be a part of like a team that thinks like, that sometimes a bad decision can ruin something, and so you kind of need to be like wary of it. Like it's not any of like Saints' fault or anything, but the reality is that we did put ourselves in a position where a decision like that at the end of the game could change the outcome. Like, yeah, those are the two moments. The two moments for me are, like you said, the tap and go. Like, I don't blame him for doing that, and I always go to I always go on Reddit afterwards and have a look at like the comments on there, and like everyone was saying that that's kind of what you want your young lads to do. You want them to be testing, you want them to be pushing the boundaries. You want, it's a bit different if maybe he's 31 and he's still making that kind of decision when, with more experience, you'd be able to slow it down in your head and go, okay, maybe this isn't but you want your young guys to be trying things at the end of the day. And so I totally understand doing that. And then I say the second moment is Finn missing touch, like trying to go for way too much and missing touch. Like safety is always your best option there when you're kicking to touch and you've got the advantage. And then I just think, like you said, that it's such a shame like what came after, because that first 30 minutes are probably the best rugby we've played like this season. I'd say, like how good we were and how like clinical we were and like clean we were, and then it's like Dow said, it was like once the control sort of slipped, we just could not get it back, no matter sort of how hard we tried. And then it said some of the errors that we made in the sort of second half comes from that. Then the fact that they're trying so hard to dominate again and get control back of the game, and then it just kind of played into Bath's hands. But you're right, like the decision costs us at the end. But I still feel like the club are going to reflect on how did they manage to get themselves in the position that was able to cost them, how were they able to get them back in the game. Like I said, with a 21-point lead at one point, and you just can't let those slip and expect that you're still going to come out the victor. But like we can put that 30 minutes together for 80 and we can defend. All right, we're not that far off unbeatable, but it feels like there's some real key steps that need to kind of go into that. So it'd be interesting, obviously, having who the new defense coach is going to be and what that's going to look like next season, because there's quite a lot of work to do there and other areas too. But
is he definitely going? Is he definitely going? I thought he was still. Oh, he definitely is going.
Yeah, he's going to take a full-time role at Scotland. But I think, I don't think there's anything with the coach. I think, we've proven that we can defend, and we've proven that Rallis is a class coach. I think it's just getting it right and executing it, and decision making is key, and composure and all that sort of stuff. I think the problem is Bath are also a very good side with incredible athletes and incredibly physical, and they are going to stretch. And there are times in that game when we actually defended really, really well, but you can only do so much. And you look at it, and there are decisions that are made. Like, you can't blame one decision of a tap and go over the course of a game. Like, it's not a case. And one refereeing decision, you're right, is you can't really go, oh well, that cost us the game. But then you can also say, Bath is such a good side, Saints are such a good side, that it will come down to those fine moments, those big moments in a game. Yeah. That whoever wins those big moments, whoever gets the decision in those big moments, is going to win the game, because it's such a fine margin between the two sides. And if we're in a bit of a Bath Saints era at the moment, of them being the clearly two best teams in the country, and probably for the next couple of years, 2 or 3 years maybe, I'm sure that rivalry is going to get bigger and bigger because of it, and it's great.
I think
it was fine margins, wasn't it? To be fair, it wasn't 2 points in the end. I was listening to Radio Northampton before it started, and Lenny quoted that, and then Graham picked him up on it because he said they were talking to Boydie before the game, and that's what Boydie said. He said this game will be down to fine margins. He said there'll be one kick or one try in it, and the man obviously knows his rugby, doesn't he? Because he was spot on.
I think I think it's just it felt like sometimes we were doing like silly things like. And this isn't to it sounds like I'm just picking on JJ this week, and I still think everything he gives us is like a net positive. But like the two penalties for like going early in the line, they were just so obvious. You know, take it whatever it's like going early, like taking the man out, whatever the actual phrase is like. And I spotted them both times and said he's gone early. Like I was like, if I've spotted it, he's spotted it. And it's just really silly things when you're on the line, and like you said, we could have. It makes a difference in terms of whether you're able to defend or not. And then obviously, like I said, by the time he did, I think was it an offside for actually the third one where he got a card at that point because he was just on an individual warning. I was like, you can just do without that. But it's those kinds of little things. Like I said, he'll learn as he's still new to this team when you think about it in terms of like the time he's been here and like the way that we play and the things that we do. And you know he was in France before, right? And I'm sure the way that they ref the game is probably different, and you have to get used to lots of different stuff. But it does need cleaning up because like that was two of them, and we're on the line, and it really does kind of affect what it is that you're doing. But I think I think a positive was definitely like, even though I don't think we got rewarded for it when we should have, was the scrum. Like they keep banging on, and they're not necessarily wrong, but they keep banging on about Thomas Latoy being the best in the world, and Manny had him on a plate.
One scrum. He did one scrum and got a penalty. And they're like, oh, he's amazing. He only did one scrum. The rest, they weren't that on top.
I think there was like at least two of them where I don't think they played away the ball quick enough to make the argument that we shouldn't get a penalty. I think we marched them back quite a significant distance. They get the ball out and he goes, oh, well, it's played away. And I was like, was it? Is it really? Like,
already stood up at that point, yeah.
Yeah. I think he absolutely had him. And they keep mentioning, oh, on comes like the world's best scrummager. I was like, well, he wasn't on the day. Like he wasn't the best scrummager on the pitch that day, let alone the world.
The problem is it was just that one scrum was, I think, the penalty that then they scored their winning try, wasn't it? That's the thing. So that's the quality you have, and that's it. But he wasn't. Manny had him, I swear.
Yeah, that's definitely. I had that noted down as well. One of the strong positive was Mane's ability at the leadership was definitely outstanding. And going back to JJ, like it's fine margins again, and it's tough because he went early, hit 2 early hits at the line outs, and he was offside on our line. But then you could say, well, if he didn't get that initial hit at the line out, then they're rolling over. You've got to get your timing bang on, and also sometimes it's worth going early and hoping the referee doesn't pin it, because stopping Bath from pushing mauling over on your own 5 is virtually impossible. So sometimes it's worth taking the risk of getting that initial hit in early and don't let them set. It's a balance, isn't it?
I suppose the issue JJ has is he's like the biggest guy on the field, and they're gonna see you. Like, he's certainly not the kind of guy that's going to be able to like disguise it or like hide it in any realistic way. So, but I mean, like you said, if they can shore up a couple of things. Yeah, sorry, I was just saying if they can shore up a couple of things, and that attack clicks like that for like long periods of time, like we really do have a good chance. So it'll be interesting, sort of, what the rest of the season brings.
You do have to look at that performance though and just go, hang on, we were away at Bath, a place nobody wins. We played some of the best rugby anyone's seen in Europe, never mind the Premiership. And I'm not trying to be cocky here. I don't think we should fear Bath, because if we'd actually defended better and made some correct decisions and not do so many stupid penalties away, we'd have won that. We lost by 2 points. It was just insane. It was just like, everyone's like, oh, this Bath team's insane. So are Saints. And ours is homemade.
We're equally as good as Bath, if not better, I think. Away from home makes a big difference. You said earlier just about not being too keen to go to Bordeaux. I'd love to see this Saints side against Bordeaux, because I honestly think we're as good as any team in the world at the moment. And might not be next year, but I think this year we are. I think there's a character about this side where the bigger the occasion, the bigger the performance. And what they've done amazingly well this year in the away games is they built them up into a big occasion, and that's brought the best out of them. And like the away form has been tremendous because of it. But let's think about away form and we'll have a quick look ahead to Exeter before we get Tom on. I mean, they're slowly but surely getting back to where they were, aren't they? And they offer the similar threats to what Bath offer in terms of big physical pack. big game line wins. Back's a bit clunky in comparison to Bath, but Fizzle carries hard, and they've got some big lads up front.
Yes, it's an interesting one because, like you said, they're finally getting back to where they're third in the league, aren't they? I think they're third.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
So they've sort of crept up from nowhere, haven't they? Because were they second from bottom last year?
Yeah,
I think, Mr. Baxter's doing the stuff again, isn't he? He's rebuilding, and it won't be an easy game. It's going to be. I think it'll be close again because it's quite a bit of a bear pit there. It's not one of my favourite grounds. I don't like going there, to be fair. And if they play like they played against Bath, I don't think they'll have an issue. But it's not going to be an easy mission, and they'll need to be on full on. No penalties, Paints. No penalties.
I think. I think it's probably out of like all the games we've got between now and the end of the season, the one I don't think we'll win. Like that's not to say that we won't. I just think how Exeter are playing right now, and like you said, their form at the moment, it's on the road. I'm nervous about it, particularly how close everything is. Like I would be equally unsurprised if we win as if we lose. To be honest with you, like we're definitely gonna have to be on it. Like I said, like the way that they're playing and things like that. So I'm not sure about it at the moment, but
yeah, I think. Well, the thing is, it's a massive opportunity because, like you say, they're in third. So you go down there, you beat them, and you're suddenly putting a big gap between third and
exactly,
first,
yeah,
and that helps you get that top two spot. So if they can build it up and get their mindset right, it's a great opportunity, and that's the way they've got to approach it. But like you said earlier, the injuries are racking up. No Langdon, no Big Trev, no Coles, no Lockett, no Pearson, no James, no Ram, no Tadaro. That list of names is significant, isn't it? Like the talent that's not available is pretty good. But then Ferbs is back and going well. Mitchell's back. We've got the England boys. Phoenix Etch's back. We've got the England boys playing. Graham's back fit. He might add a bit.
Yeah.
I'm just really gutted for Langdon, bless him, because he's been out for so long, and he's just literally looks like he's come back as he was playing before. And was he actually done? Has he broke his thumb or something?
I don't know. I mean, they said he's seen a specialist, so it looked like hand, thumb, didn't it? But it could have been shoulder. Who knows?
Pearson's
maybe he did have he had tape around like the thumb and the fingers, so I'm assuming it is something in his hand. But yeah, which is also not useful when you're a line-out thrower. That's not going to help you, is it? Like, but I think Mitchell back is a huge boost, and I'm assuming he'll start this weekend. After, I mean, I understand why he came off the bench because it had been quite a while, right? And it's one of those sort of injuries, but.
I don't know if he will. I think it would have been better to get him on earlier against Bath, but I think Parland is so good and playing so well. I would probably start him if I'm being honest. I mean,
I'm not saying that I wouldn't. I would be surprised. Like I think Mitch did what 20. I honestly don't remember how long everybody came on for, but you would want him on for longer. But I suppose he probably did long enough to get a feel for at least where his fitness is at this point, like that. I think they're going to want to get him back in and get him firing. But they could do that. That's also the difficult thing, is it's like what we talk about with like the centres. Like some people are playing so well and they've taken their opportunities on people who've been with England or people who've been injured. Like you wouldn't want to choose. You definitely wouldn't want to choose.
We're not going to go through it. We haven't got time because we're going to get Tom on. But the choices that the coaches have got to make in every position is insane. It's the best it's been. I'm going to say ever. And that's why we've sort of discussed they've got to win it this year because it's not going to be as good going forward. So
are we going to do predictions quickly?
Yeah, quick predictions, and then we'll get Tom on. Last week it's just a write-off. No one got anything right. So another write-off. I'll start this week. I'll go 32-43. And I will pick Tommy. It's Jess next.
I'm gonna go a bit closer, I think. Let's go. I'm trying to do the maths in my head, but not good at maths. It's been a long day. I'm going to go 40, 45, 47. I'm going to go super close.
Be
Who
insane,
do I
by the way.
pick?
Always 100
I'm trying.
points.
I know. Well, that's where we've been the last sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, how many points was us and Cast together and us and Bath together? Like, we seem to love. I don't know scoring because it's kind of difficult to. Because I think there will be some people, like perhaps a Pollock, for example, who might be rotated just because they've played a lot of minutes, or some of the others, they've played a lot of minutes. So it's kind of hard to figure
Who's
out.
he being rotated out of? That's the thing. We are short in the
Yeah.
back row now.
No, yeah. I suppose having Graham back helps with that at least. Let's go Mitch.
Mitch, yeah.
I said that he said that he might start, so I've got to back it up.
Go on, sorry.
That's gonna be easy, quick. 29-37 and Archie.
You both got the scrum half.
Hey, there's every chance it is both the scrum halves. I reckon Archie could come on for 10 minutes and still somehow be on someone's shoulder and get over the line. So
Yeah,
I
they
think
could
he'll
both well
start.
score. They could both well score for sure. I mean, I'd think
Mhm.
Archie could be first try scorer, Mitch could be lowest try scorer. Okay, brilliant, cool. We've got those. Okay, now let's get to it. Saint Academy product. He was also a junior blue, which he sort of developed into and made a number of appearances for Bedford as part of the relationship with Northampton Saints. He's played for England under 20s in the 21 and 22 Six Nation campaigns. He has 78 appearances, has scored 70 points. Saint 2032, Tom Litchfield. Hi Tom, how you doing?
Hi Charles, I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
No, pleasure to have you on. Really appreciate it. How's the mood in camp after last Friday?
It's a bit of both, really. Obviously, bitterly disappointed that we didn't get the win at the weekend. You know, especially with our attack, felt like we did enough. But yeah, just let them in the game too easily with some of the tries we conceded. But, you know, overall felt it was enough to win. But yeah, got a great opportunity to right a few wrongs this weekend away at Exeter.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, with that, I guess you've done your sort of debrief and review of the game already, have you?
Yeah, we did that today.
And do you sort of, and I guess you want to draw a line to some extent, but get as many learnings out of a fixture like that as possible, because you obviously had a really strong lead, were playing really well against a very good side. Let's be really honest as well. You know, Bath are allowed to be good, but you know there are probably moments in the game where, when you look back, do you look back at it as like the decisions that the team made in terms of going for the corner or going for the post were the right decisions at the time, or do you ever look back and think, in hindsight, we'd have done that differently?
We didn't necessarily look at it like that. We looked at it more. We looked at it more from the point of view of that game's going to put us in good stead for the rest of the season. Having a game like that where we were so close and maybe we would have done things differently in hindsight. That's going to bode us well for this run in. You know, we're top of the table. We're looking to get into the playoffs and have a good run at the title. So I think it's going to put us in good stead for the rest of the season. But definitely, you know, a lot of disappointment. You know, we went into that big lead. So, you know, our consistency to hold that into the second half is definitely something we'll look at. And defensively, we want to be, you know, conceded a tap penalty off the fact they didn't have to make a pass. So stuff like that we're definitely going to look at. But I think really it will be a good lesson for us for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, exactly. I guess there's always learnings, and we won't dwell on it. We'll move on in a second. I just want one more question around. I mean, there must be sublime confidence within your attack. I mean, that Archie McParland one-handed move. I mean, you must be so confident for, you know, a young lad like that to have the audacity to try it, or, you know, or just the confidence to pull it off. I mean, that must be in the attack across the whole squad. That must be there, because some of the attacking play we've seen this season, you know, the last few seasons, etc., is just unbelievable. Is it a belief thing?
I think so. Like we've always believed in our attack, and we've sort of trying to go away from it, but we've always been a team that can outscore other teams, and we want to shore up our defense as well. But guys are just full of confidence at the moment. Archie's playing great, so he feels like he can play with confidence and do that one-handed pass. So it's great to see all the young guys coming through. I mean, you saw Tadara at the start of the season. Like Vesti and the coaches just give them so much confidence to just go out there and play, and they give us a good framework to do that. So got a great attack, and something we spoke about today was that belief we have in attack. We need to have that in our defence as well. So I'm looking to get that both sides of the ball.
Right. It's interesting you just said young players there. I mean, are you 23?
I'm 23, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Seasoned pro. I mean, I think you're up to 100 caps almost, so you've got the experience, but you've got it at a very young age. I mean, we'll get onto those bits. I mean, the bit we always start with is how you got into the game, your sort of origin story in the sport. How did that look for you?
So I was always encouraged when I was younger to play any sports. My mum was a good runner. My dad played rugby at a low level, but more socially. So I was always around sport, and it was my younger brother wanted to try rugby. I wasn't that interested. I was more interested in football. But I went down with my younger brother anyway. Quite enjoyed it, so I've been playing it since. But yeah, I remember going to watch my dad a lot. He was a tight head prop, so a bit different to what I ended up. But I think my mum's helped me out there to get me in the backs. But yeah.
And was that at Bedford? Was it? You were a junior blue, were you?
So I initially started at a club called Biggleswade, and then at around under 11s maybe moved to Bedford.
Right. And was the Biggleswade, was that where your father played? Was it?
No, so he played for a club called Bedford Swifts.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you'll know that team, but yeah, he played there for many years. When I was 18, just before I came into the academy and stuff full time, my dad was like, "Let's get a game together. So we ran out together, which was nice.
Is that the athletic track they play at? The athletic stadium?
Yes, yeah.
No, I know it very well. I used to play there as well.
Oh, really?
Way before your time. But yeah. And so coming through, so his dad was a tight head prop, etc. Were you always a back? Were you junior rugby, it's a bit mix and match, but at which point did you start becoming a back, or was that always the case?
Yes, I actually started off as a fly half. So I played fly half a lot, and then sort of 13, 14, 15 started to fill out a bit more. Moved to centre, and then when I was at school, my school coach was thinking about maybe putting me at number 8 a bit more. So there was a little bit maybe I go into the back row. Luckily didn't do that, and still a back, so I'm quite happy about that.
Yeah, okay. And is that because ball carrying's always been a strong strength of yours, has it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely been the best part of my game, like all through growing up and even now. So yeah, that was something that my coach was like, you carry the ball so well. But I always felt I was a bit too smart and had better game understanding than a lot of the forwards, so I didn't really feel at home there. So.
Right. And that's interesting because I think from my perspective, watching as a fan, you're obviously a big bloke, but you've also got that sort of outside break, a fair bit of pace and athleticism as well. When you play in a centre role, is it hard to sometimes get typecast as a crash ball centre when in reality, that's not, you're not entirely that. You've got a much wider game.
Yeah, I think it's quite easy to like box people into like one type of way. So like I'm very happy to carry it in tight spaces and stuff, but I've got a little turn of speed, so I can take people on the outside as well. So yeah, I'm trying to expand my game more with getting me and Vesti have looked at getting a bit more offloading into my game and linking up that way. So yeah, always trying to expand my game. Don't want to get too boxed into just Litch is just a crash up. So yeah.
Is that the key area of growth, do you think, in your sort of distribution and offload game? Is it?
I think it's just something like I've been good in the contact area, getting meters and stuff, and if I can link up with my teammates, it just provides more opportunity for us to score. And you've seen like guys like Archie always run great support lines, so finding guys like that, we can get a few more tries.
And I'll probably cover off someone else's question here, but then you're obviously working on that area of your game, but then at the Tottenham Stadium when you've got a nice inside offload to give Archie the winning try, is that the fruition of the work you've put into to improve that area of your game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's nice to something that you trying to do on the training pitch and work on to get the opportunity to do it in a game, and especially in such a big moment. It was nice to see that come through.
Brilliant. And in terms of your development, you did go to Bedford, and then as part of your Saints connection, you played a lot of games for Blues as well in the Championship as part of your growth in the game. What was that experience like?
It was great for me because I think that relationship came in when I first joined, which would have been 6 years ago now. And I was always a Bedford Blues fan from Bedford, so I used to go down all the time. So I was very happy about that. Bedford's a great club, great way of playing that's similar to Saints. So it was really easy to fit in there. It's great that we have that link with Bedford to get lads who are coming through to play a good level of rugby and a good standard and sort of see what it's like to play week in, week out, which is important before you get into the Prem team and stuff like that. So, yeah, I really enjoyed my time there. There's a great bunch of lads there. Mikey Ray is a great coach as well. So, yeah, I really enjoyed my time there.
Is there, I mean, if you're a Blues fan growing up, obviously you have aspirations from an individual, but is there not just like a temptation of going, well, I'm going to play 400 times for Bedford and live out my childhood dream,
Yeah, well, I was potentially more excited to make my Blues debut than my Saints debut. But I went to watch Northampton loads as well. My one of my best mates when I was younger had a season ticket, so we used to go quite a lot. So always supported both clubs, and feel a strong connection with Northampton as well.
Sorry, you're on mute. Sorry.
Nope.
That would help, wouldn't it? Sorry. Hi, Tom. Just to elaborate on that, breaking into this Saints team with all this world-class talent and the way they play now, the Saints DNA, that must be something special, is it not?
Yeah, definitely. I felt like I've kind of was on the fringes a lot, sort of the last 2 or 3 years, but starting to get in the last season or two got a lot more regular game time, and it's a special group, a great coaching team behind us. So it's a really special place to be.
Yeah, but it is. Yeah, your recent form's been like outstanding. What do you put that down to? And because as a result, you've just won Player of the Month, haven't you? This just recently.
I don't know really. It's hard to like put your finger on something. I just think I obviously came back from a long layoff, 3 months off from injury. Came back in February, and was just itching to get back with the boys. Just settled back in really well. We're playing with a lot of confidence, so that gives you confidence to go out and do your thing as well. And just felt confident to do what I can do. And I mean, a lot of the stuff like in the Sarries game, Dinger's delay on the pass and Hutch stuff makes me look a bit better than maybe.
We've actually spoken about you a lot recently in the pods, and we just said it must be impossible for Douse to pick the team, but never mind the centres, because of the class at centre at Saints. Like, with what's it like playing with Dingers, Hutch, Tommy? You had a good relationship with Toby in the cup as well, didn't you? So it's just quality everywhere.
Yeah, we've got a really great a set of centres, and they're all great to play with. Obviously, Dingers is that natural leader, So he's just a calming presence to play with. Hutch can, put you through any hole, so creative. And me and TT sort of come through at a similar time, so it's really nice to play with him. But when everyone's on good form, like it's a good headache, I think, for Davs to have to see who wants to pick. But I'm very happy to play with any of them.
I bet, yeah. So far, as Charles elaborated, you're only still a pup, really. But what would you say your highs and lows so far at Saints?
A high, even though we lost in the European final, I was on the bench that day and I played 75 minutes in a final against Bordeaux at the Principality. So that was a really special experience, even to come away with a loss. Could also be one of the highest lows as well, because we were so close to, had a difficult season in the Prem, so really wanted to get something there. I'm not sure I've had too many lows, to be honest. I've enjoyed my time thoroughly with Saints so far, and maybe we can do something special this year.
But that's kind of leads me to this question then. Like, in rugby terms, you're still quite a young player, but what was it like then playing in like a Premiership winning side, playing in the final? There's playing all those stadiums you're playing in, like all around Europe, some of the best and biggest, like recently in Tottenham. It's just insane, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like, the stadiums we usually play in are sort of fit 10, 15, 20,000 fans. So to get to play in stadiums like the Principality and Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is such a cool experience. So yeah, just thoroughly enjoying it and relishing any challenge we get to play on those big stages.
Yeah, I bet. And one last question from me. I asked Rami this. Quite a lot of the lads had a tattoo when you won the Prem. Did you get one?
I didn't get a tattoo, but I am thinking about it if something happens this year, because it's quite a cool. It's quite a cool little memento to have, and quite a few of the boys got one in 2024. So yeah.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Jess.
You've mentioned a couple of times already about obviously the motivation for the Prem this year after the loss last weekend, but also thinking about obviously the European, kind of skipping a bit ahead, I suppose, to Europe next season. Is it also a really big push in terms of the Prem, because obviously the higher the seeding, the better that journey could perhaps be in Europe. Obviously, we had to have one of those away fixtures because we weren't quite seeded as high as we'd like to. So does that also kind of motivate you for the Prem this year? Also just thinking about next season and that European journey and, obviously trying to get back to the semi-finals, back to the final.
I think mainly we're all eyes on the Prem at the moment. And then sort of as a reflection of our performances and how well we could go in the Prem. If good stuff comes off of that, like a higher seeding in Europe, then that happens. So I think that will just be a knock-on effect of us focusing and putting all our eggs in this Prem basket.
Yeah, and thinking back to the Prem win a couple of seasons ago, Saints always kind of love a kind of story that they can attach to that. And obviously that year it was Courtney leaving, Waller retiring, Ludlam moving on as well. It was kind of a big emphasis on kind of getting the title for sending those people off. Obviously this season we've got Ferbs and a couple of others moving on. Is that something that's been mentioned, or is it something that's just maybe in your head of, that would also be a really great kind of sending off for someone that's been here for a decade?
It was actually mentioned after the Bath game that this is what we've got left this season in the Prem, and you've got guys like Ferbs, Rami, Sammy G, guys who have been here a long time. So yeah, I think it's nice to attach a little bit of a story to it and give us that extra little bit of emotional energy and motivation to get it over the line. So yeah, but it's nice to have something. Obviously, you know what you're playing for, but to have that emotional connection as well is nice.
Yeah, and in terms of, I know you mentioned righting some wrongs against Exeter this weekend, but obviously there's also the small matter of Bath again the weekend after that. It's coming back around quite quickly. So I know we've had players before say that they tend to think sort of one game at a time, but is there an element of we've got them again in a couple of weeks' time, and does that also make righting those wrongs more important against Exeter so that you can get your, I say revenge, but I don't know if it necessarily feels like that, but get your sort of revenge, as it were, sort of over Bath the week after? Does that actually put even more importance on that away performance against Exeter?
Yeah, I think we'll look at Exeter first, and we'll like to go down there and put in a performance. I think people will have Bath in the back of their minds, because it would be nice to get our own back on them. But we got a good team in Exeter who they actually, well, they beat us in the Prem Cup, didn't they? So we'd like to get our own back on them as well. So we'll head down there first and put in a performance there.
And in terms of your, I suppose we usually ask about ambitions, which is a bit difficult as we're sort of in the tail end of the season. But in terms of your ambitions, at least for this season, head into next season, is it just, consistently kind of being picked in the team, or do you have any other kind of specific goals that you want to meet? Or at this stage, is it just really focusing on, you want to get that title and hold on to that first place in the table? So it kind of, your ambitions kind of sort themselves out that way.
Yeah, I think for me, definitely just playing as much as I can. I think that's, when we got the Prem that we're still fighting for, and we're looking to get a home semi-final in that. I think, yeah, just wanting to be a part of this story as much as I can is my aim for the rest of the season.
And in terms of kind of, I always ask players about their international ambitions. I understand you played for England under-20s. And when I ask players about this, I get one of two answers, which is either they're thinking about it or it's they're not thinking about it at all. So, in your position, is potential senior England cap something that you think about, or is you just focused on performing well, and if it comes, it comes?
Yeah, I think you always, you sort of dream about it, being in that England squad or even England A. And it's, I spoke to Vesti at the start of the season about, a target of mine being in that England A squad. And, we sort of touched on that if I perform well for Saints, then that will come off the back of that. So really all I need to focus on is performing for my club. So, yeah, something that you think about and you aspire to do, but it will all come from performing for your club team. So that's the main thing for me to focus on.
And do you feel like Saints is a kind of a good place to be able to put the performances in that you want to? Obviously, we've had quite a lot of Lions representation, international representation across multiple different countries. So do you feel like Saints is a really good kind of place right now to be able to push for, that kind of recognition?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, I think we might have had the most players in the England squad in the Six Nations and stuff. So, yeah, it doesn't seem to be anywhere better to be at the moment. So, yeah, I think it's a perfect place to be to push for international honours.
I'm going to slightly pivot here. In terms of outside of the game, we always like to ask kind of what players get up to and kind of who their kind of close friends seem to be. So, from your perspective, what do you like to kind of get up to when you're not playing and you've got some of that downtime?
Well, TT mentioned it in his one, Toby Tame, when he was saying that I try and play golf a bit. So yeah, we get out on the course when the weather's nice. I told him that I'd mention it because he literally just sent me that clip of the podcast, just him tearing me. So that was brilliant. But yeah, like try and play a bit of golf. Recently been getting into paddle a little bit, which is fun. Some of I suppose I'm still a younger guy, so some of the younger guys, me, George Hendy, Tom Lockett, we play a lot of PlayStation together, Mecca, Tanya as well. And I've got a lot of family close, so the weekends might go and spend some time with family. So, yeah.
I mean, you did preempt one question because I had it in my notes that, that Toby had mentioned. That you tried to play. I think he said at one point that you were quite bad at it.
Yeah.
So it's funny that he sent you that clip after. But we actually had Finn Brown on as well, who, so for some reason when we ask players, they always seem to bring you up. That seems to be a common. And he mentioned that sometimes you guys play board games and that you take it very, very, very seriously. Is that like true? An element of?
Yeah, no, we do like playing like cards and on away trips, I'll bring a lot of games as well, just to pass the time. So yeah, we play a lot of card games, Scrabble and stuff like that. Finn struggles with his spelling, so he's not great at Scrabble. So yeah, I'm definitely, we're all sports people trying to win all the time, so we're hugely competitive when we're playing. So yeah, it can get a bit tasty sometimes.
Yeah. No, I just put that to you because it was just a funny kind of, we had them I think in a row and both of them had mentioned you and we knew you were coming up, so I thought I'd best note that. But I suppose it's easy when Toby sends you the clip of what he said, and he did. I think he specifically told us as well, he's like, make sure you ask about it, so we're like, we will, don't you worry, that's fine. Yeah. Either of you guys have any further questions before our final one?
Yeah, just before we get to Si's final question, to cover off this weekend, say it's a big game against Chiefs, and sort of, then leading into the Bath game, it's sort of almost a couple of games could be very pivotal in the season and what the ends up looking like. Chiefs are interesting as well because we had that game at the beginning of the year when we had another large lead and it ended up being a draw. Do those fixtures where the sort of return fixture, does that play into your thinking when you go down to Chiefs? Does that have any pivot on your thought?
I think you've definitely got, we have a bit more to look at of how they played against us specifically, but also it just gives you a bit more fire in your belly. Especially we drew with them at the start of the season and they knocked us out of the Prem Cup as well at their place. So it definitely gives you a little bit more fire that you want to right those wrongs. So we'll be going down there with a point to prove.
And if you're playing, etc., what you might be up against someone like Henry Slade. It's again a very different player to a very different player to all the players that we've sort of centres we've discussed in terms of Dingers, Hutch, Tame, even Freeman, etc. When you look up at someone like against Henry Slade, would you ever think of like that's part of what I want to bring to my game, or do you think I'm point of difference? We talked about you being a bit more physical than probably those other players we've discussed, a bit more turn of pace than a few of them maybe. Is it a case of being your point of difference, or do you, when you look at someone like Slade, go, I want to emulate him?
I definitely think it's important that the main thing that you look to do it is to harness your point of difference. You want to make it a super strength and something that hopefully makes you like you have to be picked every week because of that asset you have. So but Henry Slade's quite a different player to me, I'd say. Much more of a distributor, good kicking game and stuff like that. You look at guys like that and you think, like that's something that I'd like to add to my game as well. But for me, definitely making sure my point of difference is a super strength of mine. It is most important.
And on that sort of point as well, Berger, Odendahl obviously left the squad, and he was a player who brought a huge amount of physicality. That was his sort of super strength. Do you sort of put yourself in a position where you think, well, across the 3, 4, 5 contenders to start at the weekend, I'm bringing that skill, and therefore it's almost horses for courses, at least for the coaches, that against someone like Henry Slade in the 13 channel, they might go with the more physicality rather than a different type of approach. Sorry if I've worded that wrong, but do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's what sort of I touched on that a little bit too. Is that I want to give the coaches a headache. I want them to think, we could really do with Litch's ball carrying this week. So as long as I keep working and sharpening that tool for me, you want them to go, we have to have that this week.
And sorry, one more before Simon. So I just when you have such a good run of form as well, like you've had recently, unbelievable performances such as at the Tottenham ground where you serve the winner, etc. What's the thought process when then the next week they go with a different route? They go with Dingers and Hutchinson in the Bath game, etc. Is it a case of are you aggrieved or are you understanding, or how do you feel about that?
Well, me and Dal spoke in the Sarries week before the Sarries game, and he just gave me a heads up that I played a lot of minutes recently, so that I should expect to be rotated soon. But you don't want to be rotated for the big games. You want to play in the big games. So, yeah, sort of. You understand, and Hutch and Dingers are playing amazingly as well. So, yeah, you obviously you're miffed, but you can understand as well, and the reasons for that.
Brilliant. Thanks. I'll hand you over to Simon for his renowned question.
Right. This question I ask everyone is: who is the best player you've played with, played against, and who would you love to play with alongside you in the squad?
Oh, best. I'll start with the player I played against because it was just a cool thing for me. Is on my European debut against Ulster, we played against Dwayne Vermeulen, which for me, I think I was 19 at the time, was pretty cool to line up against Dwayne Vermeulen. So I'd say him for played against. Played with. Played with. Could be someone like Dan Bigger, world class 10 for such a long time. Great leader and really drove the standards in training and in the games. And then for who would I want to play with? Can I do a player who doesn't play anymore, but I would have loved to?
Yeah.
I always when I grew up, I always loved watching highlight reels and clips of Sonny Bill Williams, and I would have loved to play with him. Would have been very cool.
That would be very
yeah.
Because of the offloads, he'd have set you up here.
Yes, yeah, would have put me through, yeah. Hopefully, I would have given him a couple as well. But...
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom. It's been real good fun to get to know you and chat about things. So thanks very much for coming on. Cool. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
No worries. Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers, Tom.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.